Hey, Shawn Stringham here with Game On Live Studio. I am recording in Studio 13 here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We are excited to do a quick preview of the new Game On Live Studio American Water Polo League. We're thrilled to have some sponsor that league. And we've got a couple of personalities that we're going to come and bring onto the podcast here. First one is going to be Aaron Brady. Aaron, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Shawn. Thank you. Yeah, as you said, I'm Aaron Brady, Game On Live Studios. I am one of the voices bringing you water polo action through Club Polo, and I'm super excited to be the primary voice for the Game On Live
There you
Studios
go.
American Water Polo League.
So
So I appreciate you having me on, Shawn.
my pleasure. Thanks, Aaron. And we are thrilled. Aaron is going to have the lead voice commentator for at Ocean View, and as we go through the 3 weekends of American League. Also on the show here, we've got Phil Tran. Phil, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Sean. As you said, Phil Tran here. Played with Riptide Water Polo, and I guess you can call me a vet of the American Water Polo League, kind of since it's been around since 2020. So excited to be here with you guys and kind of be part of the growth of the league.
My pleasure. Hey, Phil, it's great to have you, and thanks for joining us. As we were talking with Eric and Melissa Perales, who are the director and coordinators for the league for GOLS American Water Polo League. We got to get that to roll off the tongue a little bit better. They said that you would be the one, so we're stoked to have you be here and give us your insight. Because you participated in all 4 years of the league, right?
Yes, that's true. So kind of started off as a branch of the National League back in 2020. Obviously, COVID happened, so the league kind of got shut down along with everything else. But since inception back in 2021, 2022, been part of Riptide, who's been part of the league since then. So, since then, it's grown a lot. I think it went from about 8 teams to I think this year we're about 17, 18 teams. So very excited to play against some new competition and see some new faces this year.
And we have a good mix of both club and some collegiate athletes on the men's side. And then we're also pretty excited to have 4 women's teams this year in the GOLS American League. Tell me a little bit about who are some of the favorites, would you say? Like as you go through the roster, maybe let's read through a few of these club names, but are there specific, because you're playing your goalie, as I recall, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I would say so. Some of the favorites I would say, defending champions last year, alumni. They're kind of well known across the water polo community. Great team, great players. So it's always exciting to play against them. Outside of them, Riptide's always a good team. I think before then we were 2-time champions with that. So with our championship, luckily we were able to get invited to play in Fisher Cup down in San Diego in May. And then some other good teams, Powered, they always give us a good run based out of South Orange County. And then, like you mentioned, there's a lot of collegiate teams. So, these young kids with their energy and, their fitness, always exciting to play against them.
It's always interesting. I've done a couple of years where I've been done play-by-play for American League, and it's always fun and interesting to watch the collegiate kids come in against some of the more masters and let's say older athletes that are out there. What are some of the strategies that those different teams put in play? I mean, it's really kind of speed versus smarts in a lot of ways, like especially from the goalie position. What are you looking for in that kind of style of play in the league?
Yeah, we've definitely kind of run into that as well. Obviously, with the younger kids, like you mentioned, with the speed. So, as part of kind of an older team, we really try to dictate the pace, limit turnovers, limit, counterattacks against us. And I would say, really controlling ball, minimizing turnovers. That's kind of the best way to kind of counteract the speed of the young folks. In addition to, I think what you kind of develop as you get more experience with the game is just a lot more communication with your team. It's a team game, so you're not doing anything yourself. Being able to rely on each other, help each other out, really, prevents one person from having to do all the swimming. So
yeah,
kind of combination of those is really the game plan, that we try to implement ourselves as Riptide going into these games against the younger collegiate kids.
right. Aaron, I'm going to come back to you here real quick. So as you're coming into this, A little bit new to the new to American League, but not new to water polo. What are some of the things that you're looking for? Like, what are you excited about? Some of the stories that you're hoping to tell as we go into these 3 weekends of play for the GOLS American League.
Well, probably the biggest thing is just kind of getting to know the athletes, who's playing, kind of what Phil was talking about. Who are some of the young college kids coming in? And for me, as I didn't play the sport, but a student of the sport, I love the game, and I find myself, I now have a lot of knowledge of the game, kind of learning who these guys are, and but then also kind of some of the stuff that Phil alluded to, the different styles, because as is true in every sport, styles make fights, and so just because a team is faster or maybe more athletic. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to kind of run the pool with you. And so I'll be interested to see what those strategies are. And kind of what I wanted to ask Phil is, do you find that as a more veteran team, you guys know how to get away with more things? Water polo is famous for, quote unquote, all the things happening beneath the surface. Do you find that you guys have more tricks up your sleeve to get away with that stuff that the young kids, maybe you can get them frustrated or angry and committing more fouls and getting more exclusions?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point you bring up there. I think what maybe not get away with in terms of under the water,
Sorry.
but
Yeah.
like I think what you learn as you kind of get older and you play against players that are bigger is a lot of it's body positioning. So a lot of that, you kind of develop just the longer you're in the pool and you keep playing the game. So I think that's kind of where you kind of balance it out, where it's body positioning, you know, either you put yourself in a good position, you put, your opponent in a bad position, you put yourself in a position where you can't get taken advantage of in the pool. So a combination of that is, I think, a lot of experience that comes with the game, and a lot of things that we try to teach, our younger kids coming in. We're just kind of reinforcing those fundamentals because, you can direct players where you want them to go just based off your body positioning, especially as field players, a little bit less so as a goalie, but we have a few tricks up our sleeve as well.
So, yeah. And one other thing, Shawn, that I want to,
Yeah, go for it.
other stories, like part of it, I think, and this is in my conversations with Melissa Perales, was, where do some of these athletes want to go, especially on the women's side, as the American League is kind of the preeminent league in the country. For them, and maybe there's springboard opportunities for them to bump up to the next level, and kind of exploring those stories as well. So in addition to, game day type stuff, names and numbers and how plays turn out, what are the bigger stories? Where do some of these athletes want to go? What are their dreams? Those are all the things that I'm looking forward to exploring through this season.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible to watch you get to know those athletes, get a little bit more storytelling. And I guess I would go back to Phil here and ask the question, Phil, like as you go through some of the roster, the teams that are on there, we've got Eagle Owls, Tigers, Alumni, Cal West, Riptide Gray, Riptide Blue, East County Aquatics, Chop, Cal West, SDAC, what else? BOA, Route 66, South County Claremont, Channel Cats, etc. Like a lot of teams. Like, are there teams there that again, that like are sticking out to you or you're interested in to kind of see how they come and get ready? What are some of those? What are some of the teams there outside of Alumni and some that you've already mentioned that you're excited to see and play against?
Yeah, Channel Cats, they're a newer team. Obviously, they had a team up in the National League as well. I know that team's made up a lot of current collegiate students, so that'll be a fun team to play against. I don't say have a full-on rivalry, but we know a lot of the members of the team, so it's always fun to compete against your friends. Some of the other ones that have been around that are good collegiate teams. I think they go far in their D3 championships as well. The Pomona teams, Claremont, they're really fun to play against out there. They got good coaching. Players are strong and athletic and fast. Power, they've been in the league for a couple of years as well. They always give us good games, so excited to play against them. I think most of our games are 1-2 goal games,
right.
So it's always fun to really get that good competition.
What's the makeup of the typical? I mean, you've got the collegiate teams, so that makes sense. That are college athletes, but for Riptide, like what's the general makeup of those athletes that are participating? Like obviously you're joining us from your office at work here, so you've got a real job. You're not living on the proceeds of American League water polo, right? But I'm curious, like what's the breakdown of athletes and what they're bringing to the team, just on the Riptide side,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. I would say the makeup of Riptide's kind of a mix. We got a good mix of younger kids that are still in college, either in community college right now, looking to move to a D1 or D3 school. Some players that are playing for their collegiate club teams or trying out for, some of the newer teams like Cal State Fullerton, in a mix with, some of the veterans, if you can consider myself one of those, but, some older players that really know the game really well. They've been, around the game for many, many years. They even ref, so those players that really have the knowledge of the game. And, we're happy to have these young kids and be able to share it with them and, try to help them kind of move up to the next level as well. And I think the American League is a great opportunity for them. You get obviously a lot of exposure to some of the teams that you might be playing against, but just getting better competition with people that might be bigger, stronger, and faster than you, especially because I think a lot of the other teams, a lot of their players are kind of freshly out of college, right?
Right.
Kind of want to stay around the game. So the competition is always there. And I think it's a good opportunity for especially the younger kids to get more experience with just, varying teams and players.
Cool. Hey, coming back to you, Aaron, here, I'm curious, you had a good conversation with Melissa, one of the league founders and current league directors for the now GOLS American Water Polo League. I'm curious, any insights from your conversation with her, like in terms of the goals for the league and some of the stuff that they're working on that we can highlight here?
Well, there were several things. One of my questions to her was, what are you looking for the league, and what are the players looking for? And so it really kind of depended on the athlete in the league. And so from a goals perspective, I think my question was, who's watching? And
Right.
so one answer that surprised me a little bit was the athlete themselves. So they want to be able to go back and get the stream either to send to somebody, maybe like as Phil was saying, maybe they're trying to jump up a division, get to D1 or something like that, or just to get their highlights to show off a little bit, or could be any one of a variety of things. So that was one of the things. Also, as we're pretty experienced with goals at the junior level, is Uncle Joe and Aunt Millie in Indiana who couldn't make it to the game, but they want to be able to stream it. So that audience as well. And so we don't know moving forward who we're necessarily targeting, but we can't wait to find out. So that was a big thing. And then for the women's side, again, it was more of an issue of kind of where these women want to go. And for them, it is the Premier League. So they're really excited about the relationship. And just like all of us, we want to grow the sport. And I think we're seeing that growth in play. And now I think maybe we want to see if we can't jump that growth to another level in terms of people that want to watch the sport.
Yeah, I've got a question for both of you that we're going to maybe wrap up here. As you look at the schedule, and maybe you're not 100% familiar with it as we get into the weekend, what are the key matchups that you're interested at looking in? What are some of the more not premier games is the wrong way to look at it, but maybe what are the top games that you want to really watch and dive into as those teams are starting to clash here through the first week of play? We'll start with you, Aaron, since you're up on the screen there.
Well, that's without looking at the schedule in front of me. I've only glanced at it, so
right.
Just a cursory knowledge of the teams. And so for me, on week one, it's going to be getting to know the team. So I would ask that question to Phil, and actually, it was a question that was on my mind.
There we go.
He mentioned the rivalry with Power, and so what I wanted to ask: what are some of the other teams that you personally feel a rivalry with? And so that kind of leads me to. You mentioned it too, Shawn, like how important is winning the championship? Like how big of a deal is it to you as a player? Obviously you're a competitor, so there's that. And, is there some chippiness, or has there some like personal rivalries with other players? I know goalies, we don't get to touch you guys that much, but still, goalies get irritated with attackers that lurk and play the underwater game and all those things. Were there some guys that maybe you developed a rivalry with personally?
In a friendly way.
In a friendly, of course, we're all buddies out there, right? Of course.
Yeah, within the pool, within the pool. No, I mean, obviously, you kind of mentioned it personally. I don't think I have any personal rivalries with any players in general, but like I mentioned, power always gives us such a good game. We've always had super close matches. Um, we know some of the guys that kind of run the club as well, so kind of that friendly rivalry always goes a long way. You know, you always compete a little bit harder to kind of beat your friends. Channel Cast University, I think that'll be a fun matchup with whoever they play. They're definitely newer in the league, but they have players that train together and kind of want to move up to. I think a lot of them are community college kids that are trying to move up to D1. So obviously they're going to be putting up their full efforts into to playing some really good matches. Not 100% sure exactly who they're up against, but
Channel Cat is up against. They've got Claremont at 11:50 at Edison, and then they've also got South County at 3:20 at Atlanta on Saturday. So,
oh, perfect. You know, I think two matchups for them that'll really show where they've gotten so far over the training the past couple months. South County Power, I think that's the same team. They have some really good experienced players that will match up pretty well against Channel Cats. I think Channel Cats are a little bit smaller, so they don't have that size, but they do have the speed. Then, like you mentioned, Claremont will be very similar in styles, I think, a little bit faster pace, a lot of counterattacks. So I think it will really depend on who's, playing a little bit cleaner of a game. I think once you kind of see teams like that play against each other, it's who has a little bit less turnovers that will do a little bit better.
right. Makes sense. All right. Aaron, any other thoughts you got out there as we break down this first weekend?
I got all kinds of stuff running through my head. I can't wait to see the action. I guess another question is how much turnover typically are there on rosters from year to year? So, you mentioned in the first week or two, Phil, like what we expect to see from a team. Do you expect to see most of the same guys, or is it kind of unfamiliar territory until you see a roster or you see who gets in the water?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think in general, rosters stay relatively consistent year over year. I think one of the coolest things about kind of this level of water polo is you get a lot of people wanting to stay around the sport. You don't really see that too much, I think, in other collegiate sports where, once a lot of these players graduate, they are kind of done or retired from your sport. But water polo, I think, is particularly unique. You see a lot of people coming back to the sport, playing well into their 30s, 40s, 50s. We got some guys on Riptide playing into their 60s and 70s. So, with that being said, it's also such a tight knit community. So you see a lot of the same players at tournaments throughout the year. You kind of build up that friendly rivalry when you see them and you play against them consistently. So I wouldn't say there's too much turnover. I think where you see the most of it is, an influx of younger, collegiate players joining on teams. But I think relatively consistent teams. But I think that makes it so you kind of build a more cohesive team, team dynamic, team culture, kind of going through the rest of the season.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm personally excited. I won't be down there in Southern California this weekend, but I'll be tuning in on the GOLS Network to watch. Would love to make sure that everyone knows how to get there. The games won't be on YouTube. You have to go to GOLS. And you can access that by going to gols.co. You can also find that at live.gols.co. So a couple of different pathways to get there. They can watch all the games for free. Right, so there's no charge for people to be able to get in and watch those games this year for this weekend or for any of the weekends for any of the GOLS American League action, and we are thrilled to be partners with American League and to continue to have a multi-year relationship here with them to grow this league, give access for opportunity for athletes to play, and to support the women as they continue to grow that league. Give us your last word, Aaron, and then we're going to go back to Phil for that.
Super excited to be bringing you the action from Ocean View High School this weekend. Going to be a ton of great action starting at 9:30 all day. Just thrilled to see high-level water polo, continuing, like Phil said, continuing to be played by athletes that are either through college or out of college. So just can't wait to get it going.
Phil, give us the voice of the athlete here. What are you looking forward to as we get started in the league?
Can't wait to get back to competition. I know it's been a long couple months for a lot of the players. So getting ready to play at this high level again, we're all super excited to get things rolling. We'll have games going on over the next couple months that you guys can all check out. But just really look excited to get back in the pool and play some good water polo.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to Phil Tran and to Aaron Brady, who have joined us here. And guys, will you join me next weekend as we break it down, the results? Will you be there? Can we do that next week as well? Phil, you good with that?
Set up a time. I can definitely try to hop on again.
Fantastic.
See how
Thanks,
my
man.
work schedule goes.
I know you're getting deeper. Aaron, I know you love an opportunity to talk. Will you join me next
Can't
week?
wait. Hopefully next week I'll have more answers than questions.
I can hardly
right?
wait. I can hardly wait for your breakdown. So, on behalf of Phil and Aaron, Shawn Stringham here with Game On Live Studio. Excited to make the announcement that we have partnered with American League naming rights as naming right partners. So the Game On Live Studio, American Water Polo League. Thrilled to make it happen. We want to support the teams. We want to support the athletes. And we want to make it great. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow, all of those great things on social media. If you're watching us on YouTube here, if you can subscribe and hit that little like button, it's a fantastic way for other water polo aficionados to make sure that they get the information. If you're listening to us on audio, on podcast, same thing. Follow the podcast, share it with a friend. And if you're watching any of the clips on social, like us, follow us, send it to your friends. We're going to take off from here. We'll be back full action starting on Saturday and Sunday at Ocean View High School and Edison High School for the Game On Live Studio American League Water Polo Tournament. Thanks so much. Shawn Stringham, Aaron, Phil, signing out. Peace, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Take care. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.